Always news, always network, always power. CCNTV. Always news, always network, always power. CCNTV. Good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and here are some of your top stories for today, the 20th of September. The judge allows the release of Elijah McClain's autopsy if officials blot out some details. A Colorado judge ruled that the report of the 23-year-old black man who died after a 2019 police encounter be made public. $150,000 raised for a girl who was ordered to pay the family of the accused rapist she killed. California becomes the first state to collect data on black employed lineage. In Texas, a sketchy version of the 1619 Project gets approved. Governor Greg Abbott signs off on the 1836 Project. The pandemic is over, says Joe Biden. A nationwide abortion ban would hurt black women the most. Here's why. And the U.S. announces a new $600 million arms package for Ukraine. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves makes fun of Jackson as the water crisis continues. Let's get to the news. A Colorado judge on Friday responded to a request by a coalition of news organizations to release an amended autopsy report of Elijah McClain, a 23-year-old black man who died after a 2019 encounter with police, by ruling the report be made public only after new information it contains be redacted. The Colorado Public Radio sued the Adams County's coroner's office for release of the report after learning that the information from a grand jury investigation into McClain's death prompted the report be amended. The original report, issued back in 2019, found that the cause and manner of McClain's death was undetermined. McClain died in a hospital in August of 2019, days after the Aurora police officers restrained him and put him in a chokehold, before paramedics injected him with 500 milligrams of quinine, a powerful sedative. The officers confronted McClain after someone called the police to report a suspicious person wearing a ski mask and waving his hands while walking down the street. He had not been accused of breaking any laws. McClain suffered a cardiac arrest and was declared brain dead and taken off of life support. His death and those of others at the hands of police, including George Floyd back in 2020, prompted protests across the nation against racial injustice. Donors to a GoFundMe appeal have raised enough money to pay the $150,000 in restitution an Iowa court ruled a teenager human trafficking victim must pay to the family of her accused rapist, whom she stabbed to death. Pieper Lewis, age 17, originally charged with first-degree murder in the June 2020 killing of 37-year-old Zachary Brooks of Des Moines. She pleaded guilty to manslaughter and willful injury, both punishable by up to 10 years in prison. On Tuesday, a Polk County District Judge, David Porter, deferred those prison sentences if Lewis violated any portion of her probation. She could be sent to prison to serve that 20-year term. As for being required to pay the estate of her rapist, this court is presented with no other option. reporter said. Nothing. The restitution is mandatory under state law that has been upheld by the Iowa Supreme Court. A former teacher of Lewis organized the GoFundMe appeal, which by Wednesday's lunchtime had surpassed the required amount. Black Americans have long demanded reparations as a means of making up for wrongs committed against their enslaved ancestors, and it appears that California is moving in a direction to make it happen. According to the NPR, the passage of the Senate Bill number 189 makes California the first state to mandate that its agencies include a demographic category for employees who are descendants of people who were enslaved in the United States. The Department of Human Resources and the state's controller's office can start collecting data as early as January of 2024. It will break down Black employees in at least two groups: those who are descendants of individuals who were enslaved in the United States and those who are not descendants of individuals who were enslaved in this country. Although those disclosures will not be mandatory for employees, they will benefit the Black community, one advocacy group says. When Nikole Hannah-Jones' Pulitzer Prize-winning 1619 project, which looks at the United States' role in slavery, came into fruition, Republican-led states went on an anti-critical race theory crusade. Some states have passed laws outlawing any critical race theory class to be taught in schools, and even tried to alter how schools speak about race entirely. Texas is one of those states who passed their own race discussion limits in June of 2021. They've also made the 1836 Project an alternative to the 1619 Project, which mainly revolves around the Texas Revolution and promotes patriotic education about how Texas became so exceptional. NBC News notes that Texas Governor Greg Abbott approved the 15-page draft of what will include in a brochure featuring the approved text given to those seeking a Texas driver's license. It is said that the brochure will briefly touch on Texas's far from perfect history with slavery, as well as notes that the states passed discriminatory laws against African Americans. The Houston Chronicle says that one part of the project that has passed is the Jim Crow laws and the voting registrations or voting rights provisions that discriminated against African Americans. This project is not without critics. However, one of the people who pointed out that Texas independence from Mexico is highlighted, but the emancipation date of enslaved Black and Indigenous people are left out. The 1836 Project also leaves out the struggle of women, gays, bis, and trans Texans. President Joe Biden said that he believes that the COVID-19 pandemic is over. In an appearance on CBS 60 Minutes, he acknowledged that the U.S. still has problems with the virus that has killed more than 1 million Americans. The pandemic is over. He quoted, "We still have a problem with COVID, but we're still doing a lot of work on it. But the pandemic is over, Biden said. The U.S. government still designated COVID-19 a public health emergency, and the World Health Organization says that it remains a public health emergency or international concern. But the president's comments followed other hopeful comments from global health leaders. Last week, the numbers of weekly reported deaths from COVID was the lowest since March of 2020. We have never been in a better position to end the pandemic, but we're not there yet. But the end is in sight. Last month, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention adjusted its COVID-19 guidance to urge the nation away from measures such as quarantine and social distancing, and instead focused on reducing severe disease from COVID-19. But the agency says that some people, including those who are older and immunity compromised, have certain disabilities or underlying health conditions, are at higher risk for serious illness and may need to take other or more precautions. Black women and girls would be hit especially hard if Republican legislation introduced on Tuesday ban most abortions after 15 weeks nationwide ever becomes law. Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican out of South Carolina, sponsors legislation in the Senate, and Representative Christopher Smith, a Republican out of New Jersey, is sponsoring a similar bill in the House. While black people make up about 13% of the U.S. population, almost 40% of women and girls who get abortions in America are black. The National Partnership for Women and Families reported that in 2018 that black women have more health problems arising out of pregnancy and die from causes related to pregnancy 3 to 4 times more than white women. The organization also founded that hospitals that primarily treat black patients provide lower quality maternity care. The same study shows that black women have a higher rate of unintentional pregnancies than other women. Black women don't have access to quality birth control, and 13% of black women of childbearing age don't have health insurance. In addition, the study has found that black women are more likely to face pregnancy discrimination on the job because they earn less on average than other women. The Biden administration announced a new $600 million arms package to help the Ukraine military battle Russia, as the U.S. pushes more weapons to fuel Ukraine's successful counteroffensive in the country's east. The package will include more of the same types of ammunition and equipment that have helped the Ukrainians force beat back the Russian forces in proportion of the east and south. With admirable grit and determination, the people of Ukraine are defending their homeland and fighting for their future, the U.S. Secretary of State had said in a statement. The decision to move on a new aid package quickly on the heels of nearly $2.9 billion infusion of aid and financial support announced last week, and more than $3 billion announced in the late part of August, underscores the U.S. intent to ensure that Ukraine can sustain its stunning counterattack that was launched earlier this month. Hey, this is Captivating Christian here to remind you to tune in to Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. After 7 weeks, a boil notice has been lifted in Jackson, Mississippi, but there are still concerns of copper and lead levels within the water supplies. Unfortunately, there are still repairs going on at the city's main water treatment facilities, and it may be only a matter of time before another interruption will happen again. Seeing what the predominantly black city is going through, you would think that the leaders would be somewhat sympathetic. Not in the case of Governor Tate Reeves. As NBC has noted, Reeves could not have been happier to be out of the Capitol while speaking at a groundbreaking ceremony in Hattiesburg. It is a great day in Hattiesburg. It's also and always a great day not to be in Jackson, he said. According to the local television station, I feel like I should take off my emergency manager's director's hat and leave it in the car, and take off my public works director's hat and leave that in the car. It must be nice to be able to leave when you want to. The people of Jackson, especially the 25% of them who live in extreme poverty, can't do the same. The 5th Ward Councilman Vernon Hartley told NBC3 that he was not surprised of what Tate said. At the end of the day, we pay taxes. We're a part of Mississippi, and we're a part of his state, whether he's in Jackson or not. We're a part of what makes up his state. Reeves and the mayor have been replying back and forth about who's to blame for this mess. Reeves claims that city officials failed to give the state and federal government a plan to fix the long-lasting issues with the water system. The Woman King, which tells the story of an all-female warrior unit known as the Igoji, who protected the West African kingdom from 17th to the 19th century. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.